and here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Payload down to nominal.
Flight downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
45. Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You good? We don't need any more of these.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to NSF's live stream of the launch of SpaceX's Bandwagon-3 mission. You're looking at a live shot of Falcon 9 on Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, and some gorgeous blue skies out there. Looks to be a beautiful launch. My name is Hagen Warren. I am an editor here at NSF. I'm going to be your host this evening. Joining me in the studio, well, not actually in the studio, but here with me on comms is Cody Utzler. Cody, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good here, you know. Pretty cool launch here with 3 pretty cool payloads. Very unique. And then we got, of course, our RTLS. It's always an exciting launch to see those.
Yes. Any evening there's a rocket launch is a good evening. That's my philosophy. So, joining us out in the field on comms is none other than Sawyer Rosenstein. Sawyer, how you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic. There's a little bit of a breeze. I'll make sure I'm out of the wind for the next time you talk to me, but the light breeze shouldn't be any issues for today. So, yeah, hop on the non-stubby bandwagon and let's get ready to go.
Well, there's the first. I feel like we're going to get a whole lot of bandwagon puns from Sawyer tonight. So, but anyways, Sawyer Rosenstein out in the field joining us. Also out in the field tonight, but not on comms with us currently, is D Wise and Max Evans. And in the back channel, pushing the buttons and pulling the levers, is Mr. Kevin Michael Reed, helping make sure you all can see this beautiful shot of Falcon 9. So, Cody, do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on what this mission is? What is Bandwagon? What's launching today? You know, give us the general roundup on what this is.
Yeah, certainly. So Bandwagon is a set of rideshare missions, much like Transporter, that SpaceX set up to do 50 kilogram satellites at about $300,000 per satellite, and sends them up on a mid-latitude Falcon 9, so to a low Earth orbit. So today on this mission, it's Bandwagon-3, and well, we have 3 payloads. It isn't necessarily, the number isn't connected there, but it's a little fun fact there. So the first satellite we have on here is a semi-class. It's a classified mission with it's a Korea Project 245. It's their 4th satellite going up there. It's a reconnaissance satellite that uses synthetic aperture radar to do ground scanning, stuff like that. So pretty cool to see there. The second satellite that we have on this mission is Tomorrow S7, which is a 6U CubeSat. That's able to get weather data to help out people like sailors, you know, on ships to predict the weather better, and help companies kind of manage how they're able to operate through different weather conditions. And then finally, this is a pretty special one here. We have the Phoenix reentry vehicle from a German space startup called Atmos. And this reentry capsule is a lot like Lofted. If any of the viewers are familiar with that, Lofted was a mission that launched on a Atlas V, which had an inflatable heat shield. And much like Lofted, this is another inflatable heat shield. Their goal is to be able to transport stuff back to Earth. So they have a 100 kilogram mass payload capability with this reentry vehicle, and it's inflatable. The cool thing is, on this one, it has tiny little fins, so it's able to achieve pretty accurate pinpoint accuracy during reentry through using those fins. So it's able to get a little bit of cross range there. So at the end of this mission, when the second stage re-enters or activates its re-entry burn, it will separate after that and land in the South Atlantic.
Awesome. Yeah, and I was reading a little bit on these on these various payloads that are flying today earlier, and reading Phoenix's description. I was like, "Whoa, this is awesome!" So can't wait to see what we get out of that. Hopefully, they'll be releasing updates and stuff as it goes. So awesome, cool. All right, Sawyer, out in the field, what's weather looking like?
So right now, the weather is gorgeous. There's a couple of low-level clouds and a few scattered a little bit higher up. But otherwise, I mean, it is a beautiful night here. Light breeze, but nothing that should be of concern for the actual liftoff, with the forecast looking pretty much perfect. Almost 100% go, which is what we like to see. The cumulus cloud rule being the only potential issue. But again, the clouds here are super thin, so that shouldn't really be an issue, because the other concern with cumulus clouds is that the rocket could fly through it and create its own lightning. They are nowhere near as thick for that tonight. So I would say everything looks really good.
Awesome. That's what we love to hear. And yeah, there you can see a bit more of a wide shot there with Slick 40. That you can see a little bit of the black tower there. But yeah, it looks to be a beautiful night out there. I can't wait to see what types of shots that UD and Max all get. So cool.
Me too.
As usual with all of these streams, if you have any questions for us regarding the rocket, payloads, anything, be sure to tag us with @NASA Spaceflight in chat. That'll put it into a queue for us, and hopefully we can get it on screen and get your questions answered. So here you can see an awesome graphic of the trajectory that Falcon 9 is going to be following today. First question here, actually. Today is a return to launch site landing, so we're actually going to see the booster of Falcon 9 that you can see on the pad right there returning to the launch site. Earlier this morning, a CRS mission launched from 39A, and that was also an RTLS mission, which could mean that there is a booster on LZ1. Sawyer, can you see if the booster is still in LZ1 from where you are? Do we know if it is?
I mean, from where I am, you can't really see the booster itself, but you could certainly see the lights and activity over there. So from what I can assume is that it would still be out there. So for those who don't know, they typically lift it off with a crane, and then they have a booster stand over at LZs 1 and 2 that they use to lower it. Last I saw, and from my understanding, is the booster from this morning is still there, and this will land right next to it over at LZ2.
Very cool. Can't wait to see that in a little bit. Cool. Another fun question here. I think Cody can answer this one from John, asking, what are the 4 towers for?
Do we want the fun answer or the less fan answer? Because I remember in past, we would all say what the lightning towers were not for. What they're really for here is lightning protection. But in the past, I said they're spots for slingshots. Launch the rockets or whatever. But yes, here in Florida, a big issue can be lightning, right? During the Saturn program, I believe it was during Apollo 8, correct me if I'm wrong there, lightning struck the vehicle. And that's where the SE to aux comes from, switching the actual power control system on and off. So lightning is a huge problem with rockets, Tall metallic structures often like to get struck by lightning. So if you have a taller metallic structure nearby, you're less likely to have the rocket struck by lightning, even if it's out there for a while.
Cool, yeah, and it's kind of cool if you go to the Cape and you see all these pads. You can see these lightning protection systems at every single one. Slick 40 at 36 where New Glenn launches. The only one that looks a bit out of place, actually, is 39A, because it doesn't actually have the towers. It has that tall lightning mast on top of the fixed service structure. But yeah, it's a unique characteristic of launching from out of the Cape. So cool. We have another question here asking, will this be the fastest 2 RTLSs that have happened besides a Falcon Heavy, of course? Do any of you have that fact or that any idea of if this is true or not?
That sounds like an Alex question. He has all the spreadsheets up there. As far as I know, I think this is the closest to RTLS. What about you, Sawyer?
Yeah, there's been within a couple days, but I believe this is the closest. And again, all of that is normally Falcon Heavy. Yeah, there's about 5-6 second difference, so that probably counts as the closest. But my understanding, yeah, unless Alex has something else in the back channel.
It looks like Alex just said there have been
Yep.
faster back-to-back RTLSs. I'm curious which missions those are, because this is an incredibly fast back-to-back RTLS that I've seen.
Yeah. Should be a little over 12 hours. Yeah, Alex in the back channel just saying last year we got 2 within 7.5 hours. Wow. Wow.
Darn, only 15 hours between 2 boosters landing back on land. Oh, darn.
That was USSF 124 and IM1. So thank you, Alex, in the back channel. Even though you're not with us here on comms, we always appreciate the insight. Cool. At T-minus 48 minutes and 40 seconds now, counting down to a launch time. I don't think we've actually mentioned this. Counting down to a launch time at 8:48 p.m. Eastern. That's 0:48 UTC on April 22nd. So coming up here soon, we should see fueling of Falcon 9 coming up here in the next few minutes or so. And then we should see that rocket start to puff a whole bunch of white clouds and stuff. So it's very cool. Cool. Cody or Sawyer, do you want to talk a little bit about the booster that's going to be flying today's mission?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so the booster we have today, this is booster 1099. It's a pretty new booster, actually. This is going to be its third flight. Previously in March, it flew, or sorry, not 1099. Thank you, Kevin, in the back channel. Booster 1090. It previously flew Crew 10 back in March, and then much further back in December, it flew 03BM Power 7 and 8. So again, very new booster here. And as we said earlier, it's going to be landing at LZ2.
Very cool. And of course, today's mission is going to be flying to a mid-inclination orbit, and so it's going to be flying to the southeast out of the Cape, similar to a lot of those Group 6 Starlink launches that we see fly out of the Cape. So yeah, and here you can see that graphic showing the hazard zones for the mission. You can see that one there closer to the Cape, nearest to the pad. That's just for local mariners and such, and then the one further down for the drone ship landing. So nice to see that there. So here we can see we have a great graphic here of what launch visibility is going to look like if you're in Florida. There you can see from a T+ counter as the rocket continues to fly through its mission. You can see at around T+ 40 seconds, if you're in Orlando, you should be able to see Falcon 9 rising into the Florida skies. And as you can tell, the further the rocket gets up into the air, into the atmosphere actually, more and more Florida will be able to see it. Given that this mission is flying to the southeast, it's pretty much going to be mostly Florida and the Bahamas and likely some Caribbean islands that are going to be able to see tonight's mission. Unfortunately for us, a bit further up on the East Coast, I don't think we're going to be able to see this one. But it's always a treat if you can see a rocket. So if you're in any of these areas that you can see on this graphic, make sure to go outside, look around, look up into the sky, and hopefully you'll be able to see a Falcon 9, either a Falcon 9 first stage or a Falcon 9 second stage, ascending into the atmosphere. So, very cool. Gorgeous shot here of Slick 40. See if we can get some more questions here on screen. We have a question here from Herman asking, for the Phoenix reentry vehicle, do we know what the material of the inflatable heat shield is?
That was not information I was able to find there, but I would expect it to be somewhat similar to Lofted. And if I remember right, Lofted was some type of Kevlar, I believe. So I need someone to fact check me there. But with these private companies, a lot of it's proprietary, and so we might not know.
Yeah, definitely. We have a super chat here from Nibbles asking, Alex, can we confirm that's in fact the fairing? Not too terribly sure what this question is asking.
That's a reference.
Okay. Sawyer, as usual, helping me out there.
Flame Jack.
Cool.
Is that a reference to the Vandenberg launch?
Yes, it is.
Very cool. I have a question here asking, has a Falcon Heavy ever launched from Vandenberg?
East Coast, West Coast, no. They have not yet. There was potential that maybe they would be modifying one of the launch pads there so that they could launch Falcon Heavy from the West Coast, but it seems like, if anything now, that would probably go for Starship more than Falcon Heavy. But I don't... As of right now, there have been 0 Falcon Heavy launches from the West Coast, only LC-39A.
Very good. Agreed there on East Coast, West Coast. I might anger a few of my friends with that one, but...
Hey, you're angering me there, buddy.
Oh. A question here from John. Another one for you, Sawyer, given you're actually out there. Are we on jellyfish watch for tonight?
Oh, how I wish we were, but unfortunately we are not on jellyfish watch. This is set to be about an hour after sunset, so I think it's a little too far gone for that, but it still should put on a good show.
Definitely. Of course, to any that are not familiar, that jellyfish effect that we're talking about is whenever the sun is actually set from where a rocket is launching from, but as it gets higher and higher into the atmosphere, it enters the sunlight, and that sort of back illuminates the plume, mostly from the second stage, and it's a gorgeous effect. That it's really something that you can't really appreciate how beautiful it is until you see it with your own eyes, because truly it's a beautiful phenomenon. So yeah, hopefully we'll get another one of those coming up soon. Cool. Another question here, asking, is there any info on when or where the second stage orbit burn will take place? Wondering if we might get a fancy light show. I know we've gotten some awesome shots of second stage orbit burns from over Europe. So do we know where that second stage orbit burn is going to be taking place?
Yeah, so this second stage is going to be coming down in the South Atlantic, kind of off the coast of Brazil. So unfortunately, no northern views of this. So mostly over Brazil is where you'll be able to see that re-entry there. Yeah, there's a great graphic here just showing it in the South Atlantic.
Yeah, getting info in the back channel that the orbit burn is actually supposed to be over Los Angeles. So maybe during this time, West Coast is the best coast. So if you're on the West,
I mean, we get a boost back burn, entry burn, and landing. Just saying.
That's true. But if you're in LA or in Southern California, keep an eye on the sky. Maybe you'll be able to see a really cool light show. So very nice. Question here, actually not pertaining on with Atlas V, but maybe we can have a bit of a broader discussion on what's kind of been happening recently, because last week was really quiet for launches out of the Cape. We didn't see a lot going on. Question here specifically asking about any word on the delay of Atlas V, but sorry, do you kind of want to run down this kind of gap in launches that we've seen over the last week?
Yeah, sure. So as we kind of talked about on the Flame Trench, our Friday lighter news show, basically the Eastern Range has kind of been in a bit of a down period here. We're not entirely sure why. We think it's probably just for regular scheduled maintenance, but we weren't sure as to why. Whatever it comes down to, though, we now know that Atlas V is scheduled to fly 1 week from today on the 28th. At 7 p.m. Eastern, same type of 2-hour window we saw on the first attempts. And obviously, as you've seen from both CRS this morning and now Bandwagon-3 tonight, the range is back up and running.
Very, very good to hear. No, it was a bit strange last week not having my phone go off all the time talking about an upcoming launch. So I'm excited for that start back.
From next spaceflight?
Yes, from next spaceflight. Next Space Flight, of course, is a phenomenal app that we here at NSF operate, and gives you all the information you need on upcoming launches, gives you a recent update, I believe, gives an awesome graphic of launch trajectories. So, yeah, if you're interested in getting what I believe is a really good app for launch updates and more, then definitely download that Next Spaceflight app. An absolutely gorgeous shot here of the sky. I believe this is a drone view that we're getting from over Port Canaveral. This view is from Jerry. Beautiful skies out there. Sawyer, is it really this pretty in person?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, the colors are starting to go away now, but when we talk about sunset, this is the beautiful sunset time here in Florida, especially in the spring. It was a crazy orangish type color just a short time ago, almost fire red in a way, and it was absolutely stunning. And I believe we have some photos of what that was like. So this is looking east. This was a shot that I took from Cars Park, which is where I'm currently located, and so it was starting to get that pinkish color. And then to the west, from the same spot, this was the shot I took of that gorgeous red sunset.
Beautiful. One of my most favorite parts of visiting Florida, any time of the year, is those sunsets. They're truly
and this one's
beautiful.
From Max, by the way.
Oh, beautiful. So here you can see Cape Canaveral. Beautiful shot there from Jerry. So very nice.
Such
so
a cool shot.
Yeah. So, coming up on 38 minutes here, we should be hearing shortly that we are go for propellant load. Sawyer, is this an instantaneous, or Cody, is this an instantaneous launch window that we're seeing today, or is this going to be more like a window that we see for Starlink missions?
Cody, you got this one?
I'm trying to pull it up. If you could take this, Sawyer, I gotta find it.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's officially listed a window, but this is one of those missions where basically once they pick that T0 in the window, that is pretty much the T0. So while you may see places saying that there's a 45-minute window, essentially instantaneous. And then, of course, once they start fueling, we know that they are committed to it.
Very cool. So, yes, we've passed that 38-minute mark, and that means that we should hear shortly that we are go for loading, hopefully. If not, we can just use our good old eyeballs and look at the rocket. We should hopefully see some frost and some venting coming from the rocket. Here you can see a countdown timeline here showing what we should be seeing. So following that go for propellant load, we should hear the RP1 and LOX loading is beginning. And then soon after that, we should be hearing over time of completions of fuel loading and then engine chill prior to launch. And then hopefully, in just a little over 36 minutes, we should see a Falcon 9 lift off from Florida. All right, getting into some more questions that we've got here. Have another question here asked from John saying, my daughter Dottie wants to know what the Falcon 9 rocket is made of and how many engines it has.
Well, it's very cool because Falcon 9, well, in the name, has 9 engines. At the bottom of the vehicle, there's something called the OctoWeb that has 9 Merlin engines on it. Now, further up the vehicle, on the second stage, there is one Merlin vacuum engine there. So it's technically 10 engines on the vehicle, but on that first stage, what you mostly see are the 9 first stage engines there. And then I believe Falcon 9 is made of aluminum, right? Milled and pressed aluminum, if I'm not wrong there. Like a lot of other vehicles, such as Vulcan or SLS there as well.
Very cool. Thank you. A great question here, asking what's the difference between a transporter and a bandwagon mission? Of course, if you're not familiar, transporter is SpaceX's other rideshare program that I think we're up to 13 flights as part of that program now. So Cody or Sawyer, what's the difference between these transporter and bandwagon missions?
That's a really good question. So I'm sure someone in the back channel will be able to give a little more detail, but the bandwagon, it's kind of a couple of satellites that hop on and they're all going into the same sort of inclination. So they'll kind of deploy them all, whereas something with the transporter program, those kind of end up in like usually a sun-synchronous orbit or some kind of more eccentric orbit, and they all just get a ride there at the same time. I'm sure there's probably a more nuanced definition, but that's kind of the basics of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. We see a lot more, or we usually see a lot more payloads flying on these transporter missions instead of these bandwagon missions. Of course, transporter missions, we hear of there being tens and tens of payloads on there. But as Cody mentioned at the beginning of the broadcast, there's only 3 payloads flying on this mission. And I'm pretty sure that's just a case of different needs of customers and stuff like that. It seems like a lot of companies who are building these spacecraft and stuff want to go to sun-synchronous orbit rather than to that 45-degree mid-inclination orbit. But nonetheless, it's very cool that they have the opportunity to go to both through the transporter and bandwagon programs. So, good question there. Speaking of payloads, Cody, I know we went through this at the beginning, but maybe now that we've got a bit more people in here, do you want to go through what payloads are on this flight again?
I would love to. Yeah, so we got 3 pretty cool payloads on here. So the first one is ADD's Korea Project 245. It's Sat-3, but we believe this is the 4th satellite. Weird naming convention there. So this is a reconnaissance satellite for the South Korea's Agency for Defense Development. It is using synthetic aperture radar to image the ground. So instead of using a camera, they're able to use radar to generate maps of the ground in elevation terrain maps and stuff like that. We don't know much more about this mission because it's pretty classified. That's one of the reasons we won't get second stage views on this flight. But yeah, it's a pretty cool satellite there. Next up is the Tomorrow S7 satellite. This is a 6U CubeSat weather satellite operated by Tomorrow.io, a company that supplies weather updates information for things such as shipping, right? If you're shipping large container ships, you want to know, how is the weather going to affect my transit across the Atlantic or something like that. And so these weather satellites are able to provide up-to-date information to operators to know how do you need to change operations to account for weather. And then finally, here's a pretty special payload here. It's the Phoenix Reentry Capsule by German space startup Atmos. This is a very interesting mission here because it's not a satellite. What this is, like in the name, an inflatable reentry vehicle. Some of you will remember a NASA mission that launched on Atlas V called Lofted. This is a very similar mission to that, where you have an inflatable heat shield. This is a vehicle that's able to return about 100 kilograms from space. One really cool thing that kind of makes a difference between Lofted and this is this vehicle has little fins on it. And what that can do is it can allow the vehicle to actually get into a pinpointed position, right? It has a little bit of cross-range capability. So if you need to return a sample or something from space, you'd be able to get it much closer to wherever you need to go. And we'll be seeing that land somewhere in the South Atlantic. And it will be separating after the second stage reentry burn.
There we go, yeah. Very, very cool payloads. So, coming up now on T-minus 30 missions, wow. 30 minutes to launch. We should be getting into the early stages of RP1 loading on Falcon 9, as well as LOX loading. So, yeah, hopefully we can start to see a bit of venting coming from Falcon 9 here shortly. Another gorgeous shot from Jerry and his drone of Cape Canaveral there. Another one of my favorite characteristics of going to Cape Canaveral is if you go out on Cocoa Beach or out on the pier, if you look, you can see all the blinking lights from all the launch pads. That's where you can know where each one. You can sort of pick out which ones are what from their lightning towers. So, Cody, is that some venting I'm seeing from Falcon 9?
I see some venting. As well. Yeah, it looks like we might be into fueling here.
Always really exciting. Means that getting a little bit closer to launch. It's a good sign that we're tracking towards an on-time launch at 8:48 p.m. Eastern. So, yep, here you can see our countdown timeline showing where we are now. Stage 1 LOX load and Stage 2 RP1 load should now be underway. So, next major milestone is going to be LOX chill down at T-minus 20 minutes. And then soon after, we should see, of course, the iconic T-minus 20-minute event. So, looking forward to that. We have a question here from Dylan. Asking about a potential payload, asking, is the VAST demo mission flying on here? I know we maybe heard some rumblings that was.
Yeah, no, I got you on this one. It is not. I know in the interview that DOS did with VAST, where we got to tour their facilities out in Long Beach, which if you haven't seen it, it's available on the channel. You should go check it out. It was awesome. They had originally talked about on the Transporter-3 mission, but the latest that we saw from them officially was, quote-unquote, later this year. So given that it's not on the manifest, at least, that's been posted to the SpaceX website, it's very likely that it'll be on a future Transporter mission. So maybe Transporter 4 or some other flight later this year.
It's good to hear. Always really excited about what the awesome stuff that VAST is doing. And as Sawyer mentioned, make sure you go check out that interview. It was very, very cool to go behind the scenes and see some of this awesome stuff that they're working on. Another question here. Cody, maybe we can go into a little bit of the specifics of Falcon 9 landings. Kurt here asking, could Falcon 9 do a smaller boost back and land on a drone ship closer to shore, or would fuel be a concern for like normal drone ship landings?
Yeah, so having a shorter boost back would allow you to get closer to land, right? But at that point, why don't you just go for the RTLS? There's some benefits there to actually having a landing on land. You don't need marine assets out there to actually get the booster. But this is all a game of how much payload mass do you have, and where do you need this booster to go, and how much time do you want to take to recover it, right? So having a closer in actual booster recovery, it just wouldn't have the same benefits as a full boost back burn there.
Yeah. Cool. We're gonna hit quick support real quick from Elevator Kate becoming a Capcom member. Thank you so much for your support. We hope you enjoy those membership perks. Of course, if you're interested in becoming a member of the channel and getting access to the NSF Discord or getting access to some cool behind the scenes videos on the YouTube channel, just visit our channel and I believe you click that join button and you can look at all of our membership options. So again, Elevator Kate, thank you for that support. Helps us do what we do here. Lets me sit here and talk to you all about really cool rockets and missions. So cool. River Dave here with a question. Actually a pretty cool one. Asking, heard there were a couple of meteor showers this week. Does that add extra risk? Sawyer, Cody.
Yeah, I don't think it adds much extra risk there. Meteor showers, right? That's a thing of debris. And well, the area that the actual meteor shower comes in at would probably determine if you have any launch risk. But those things, meteors, small meteors, probably wouldn't pose too much of a risk, right? Not enough to delay a flight, I don't think there.
There's stuff entering the atmosphere pretty much all day, every day. It's just a matter of it mostly burning up. But it's not like the solar flares where you have to really keep an eye out for those, and solar weather, which, as we've seen, can damage entire Starlink launches. So it's not as big an issue.
Cool. Sawyer, I think you went a little bit robot there, but to read what Sawyer was saying, basically, there's stuff re-entering the atmosphere all the time. But most of it just ends up burning up before it can get to the ground. And so, yeah. Cool. Coming up on, or just past T-minus 25 minutes here, proceeding nicely through that countdown. We should see Falcon 9 starting to get really frosty here in a few minutes. So that's always good to see. We have a question here from Owen asking, from what I know, Merlin is an open cycle engine. Why would SpaceX go with an open cycle engine over a closed cycle for rockets when closed cycle is more efficient? Cody, do you have any insight on this?
Well, from kind of an engineering point of view, efficiency isn't always the best thing to look at, right? Open cycle is going to be a lot easier to actually design and engineer. And with Merlin being the first big engine that SpaceX produced, it was the better option, right? We can see that, Raptor being a closed cycle engine is having great benefit, but at this point, when Merlin was being made, they didn't have that experience yet. So trying to just dive straight in and make a closed cycle engine, especially back in the early 2000s, would have been a monumental task for a very small company.
Definitely. Just a testament to SpaceX's engineering that they've been, able to continue using these Merlin designs for so long. So very cool. Some more support here from Tim becoming a PadRat member for that support. I want to go to you.
Hello.
How is weather looking?
doing?
I know we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but now that we're a bit further into the countdown, is everything still looking good?
I mean, so far so good. Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better right now, but haven't heard otherwise. There's a little bit of a cloud layer, but it doesn't seem like it's anything that would be any concerns for liftoff. It's very thin, and the official forecast, again, that we last saw was that it's pretty much all go with the exception of the potential cumulus cloud rule, but they're thin enough that I think weather should be fine as long as the rocket cooperates.
Agreed. Another beautiful shot here. This is a drone shot from Jerry looking out over the Cape. See that? Well, I was going to say sunset skies, but I mean, technically it's a sunset sky, getting a bit deeper into the night now, but beautiful. Mike, doesn't look like always helps us do what we want to do here at NSF. All right, coming up on T-minus 20 minutes, looks like we're going to be seeing that T-minus 20-minute vent here shortly, so keep an eye out for that. Cody, going to come to you with a question from Isaac asking, how many payloads could a transporter mission theoretically carry?
Right.
If we know.
So, I did a little bit of math here on the side. So, Bandwagon missions use 50 kilogram slots, right? So, if we assume 50 kilogram slots and not an RTLS, but a drone ship recovery landing, Falcon 9 can do 18,500 kilograms to low Earth orbit. So, 18,500 divided by 50 is 370, so it could carry about 370 payloads of these 50 kilogram slots in a perfect world where each payload just takes up that amount of space and there's no extra mass and you're doing a drone ship recovery and you're in low Earth orbit. So idealistic world there.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for that, Cody. Tim with another $10 super chat here. Thank you for the support. I think I just saw you come by too with another super chat, so thank you. All right. Coming up here at T-minus 20 minutes. Oh, there we go. Right on cue. T-minus 20-minute vent right there. It's that iconic vent. Do we have Cody?
Sorry, you were cutting out there. I don't think I quite heard whatever question.
Sorry about that. Hopefully I'm back
All
now. I was talking about the T-minus 20 minute event. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's the importance of the T-minus 20 minute event in the countdown?
Right, yes. Okay, so the T-minus 20 minute, 20-second vent is kind of an indicator that they're starting fueling. And what it's doing is it's clearing the lines on the strong back. So the strong back is the big structure there that's kind of up against the Falcon 9. And it's the structure that they use to not only support the vehicle, but then also to hold the lines that transport all the fuel up there, right? You need a way to fill the second stage. You can't just fill it from the bottom up. So in preparation for fueling the second stage there, what they need to do is clear out the lines by blasting them so that you aren't shock cooling those lines when you start flowing the super cryogenic propellants. Because if you flow those too fast, you can end up cracking something. So it's always best to be slow with cryogenics, let everything kind of equalize in temperature, clear the lines. So yeah, that's why we see this vent right before stage 2 loading. All right. Coming up on 18 minutes here before launch. Seeing that frost creep up the vehicle a little bit more. Do we have you back, Hagen?
Yes, you do. Sorry, my internet is being a little bit funny. But I was just mentioning, as you said, T-minus 18 minutes. Next major milestone we should be seeing is second stage LOX load beginning. It's one of the cooler things about Falcon 9 is how soon or how close to launch it actually fuels up. I feel like we're used to, used to before Falcon 9 started flying so much. We were rather used to seeing rockets being loaded beforehand. Cody, do you want to talk a little bit about the benefits of why SpaceX wants to fuel Falcon 9 so close to their actual launch times?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, one of the major benefits with doing this such a late load and having late load capability is something different, but having such a late load on a vehicle like this is, well, you're working with cryogenic propellants. So the liquid oxygen going on to Falcon 9 doesn't want to be liquid, right? We breathe oxygen. It wants to be a gas in the atmosphere. So as it gets loaded onto the vehicle, it's constantly boiling, and it's boiling at room temperature. It wants to become a gas. So the longer you have it in the vehicle, the less boil off you're going to have, right? So if you load it really late, you have to do less work to maintain the levels of fuel in the vehicle. You can waste less fuel. You can make sure that it's a much better level for that. And then also it can help out during things like crewed missions, right? Because during the space shuttle program, it would take a while for the actual external tank to get fueled up, and you'd have crews sitting out there for a while. So if you can late load a Falcon 9 with a crew on top of it, the crew doesn't have to get on for the crew has to get on very soon before launch, so they don't have to be waiting out there on the pad for a while. So there's a lot of benefits there to SpaceX developing this late load capability.
Yeah, definitely. All right, coming up at T-minus 16 minutes to launch here. Second stage LOX loading should be coming up here shortly. And then after that, the next major milestone after that will be Falcon 9 entering engine chill. So getting ever closer to launch, you can see rocket has really come alive in the last few minutes with all that white venting. So yeah. Some support here from Charles. We have Charles becoming a Capcom member. Thank you for that. Thank you for that support. And then Todd gifting 10 Red Team memberships. If you got one of those Red Team memberships, we hope you enjoyed those membership perks. And there you can see that T-minus 20-minute vent going away. That means that Stage 2 LOX load is now underway. So liquid oxygen is now flowing into those tanks on the upper stage. And here you can see that countdown timeline showing where we are in the countdown. As I mentioned, coming up in about 8 minutes or so, engine chill is going to begin. Cody, what's the purpose of engine chill? What is engine chill? Why do we need to do engine chill?
Yeah. So the really cool thing about, two questions just answered is they're pretty similar in working with cryogenics, right? When you're working with cryogenic propellants, you got to be careful of materials shrinking or growing, but then also materials cracking. So when we run the T-minus 20-second or 20-minute 20-second vent there, and we're prepping the lines for LOX load on the second stage, we're conditioning the lines. Now, when the engines are about to have liquid oxygen flowed through them, they need to do the exact same thing, because we don't want to shock freeze our engines and then suddenly they crack, and you don't want your engines cracking. That can be suboptimal there. So they begin to flow that liquid oxygen through just to ensure that, nothing bad's going to happen there.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that they don't just do this on the first stage too. They also do it on the upper stage Merlin vacuum engine. Don't want to crack your engines. Cracking your engines would not be that great.
No, it would really not.
Yeah, we've seen engines do that before, even on Falcon back in the early days. We don't like that.
Yeah. All right. Newtopia Labs gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Some more memberships going out to everybody. If you got one, enjoy all that comes with that. Daniel here asking or left of the Falcon launch tower. Sawyer, can you see anything?
What am I looking for? I'm sorry, you broke up there a bit.
A lighted windsock.
It's very possible from D's view. D is a lot closer than I am. I mean, they're doing constant weather checks all the way throughout the countdown here. So yes, they have the ground level windsock there in the bottom left. You expect to see that at most pads, just like you would see at most runways, get an idea of the wind direction and all. But you also have the 45th Weather Squadron with the 45th Space Launch Delta 45 now. That tracks the conditions. They send up weather balloons to constantly check the upper level winds as well. There's a weather officer on console from the 45th that is working with SpaceX. So it's just another tool in their arsenal of making sure that the weather is happy for Falcon 9 to be happy.
Major weather criteria that has to be met, or a rocket can actually fly into the atmosphere from Florida.
And Florida, of course, notoriously has great weather all the time, always. There's no hurricanes, there's no crazy summer storms. No,
and Tomorrow
it's fine.
Companies, Inc. At the top of the satellite stack sits our primary payload, Korea AD.
There's a running joke here at NSF that all the all the people in Europe, they'll be like, "Oh, it's the ads from Florida. They're always sunny." And then we see the live views of storms and not great weather, and it's really funny there.
Hey, the Travel Bureau would have a field day with today between the two launches and the weather. Again, a little breezy, but nothing absolutely terrible. So weather looking well, and yeah, everyone in Europe, please come to visit. It's beautiful here. Just make sure that you leave the good launch viewing spots.
Yeah, we got the two flags there from W40 kind of showing the winds right now. So the flags are, they're going quite a bit. Is it a bit windy out there, Sawyer?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it. I'm trying to kind of position myself in a way that the wind isn't as loud through the headset that I'm using, but it's a little on the gustier side here. Nothing horrendous, though. Again, well within the constraints that were expected for launch, not these crazy 30-knot plus winds that we've seen recently, or as we saw for the Atlas launch attempt. Not bitter.
Yeah, one of the...
Right.
Oh, we got Hoyt.
Am I back? Hopefully.
Yes.
I love the one time my internet decides to start going haywire is whenever I'm on a stream. So apologies for all these connectivity issues I've been having, y'all. Cool. Coming up here on T-minus 10 minutes. Whew, 10 minutes away now. Very, very exciting. Major milestone is going to be engine chill. It's at 7 minutes. And then hopefully we're going to be seeing some of this fueling wrapping up. You can see Falcon 9 is really alive now. You can see all those white clouds coming off of the rocket there. That's not bad. That's just a very cold rocket touching the warm, humid Florida air. So, very cool.
It's just a little frosty,
Yeah, just a little bit. We have a $5 super chat here, saying, "Good evening, NSF crew. Launch number 2 for me and my dad. He's excited for back-to-back launches. Awesome. Yes, picked some good launches to watch. 2 RTLSs. Very cool. So, hope you all enjoyed the launch." All right. So, now that we're past T-minus 10 minutes. I think it's time that we talk a little bit about NSF's awesome merch. We have a brand new collection that just hit the shop the other day. It's our human spaceflight collection. Here you can see a beautiful shot from Kevin showing our shop. You can see all of this great new merch that we just put out, a new era in human spaceflight. You can see Dragon, Orion, the Moon, Mars, the ISS, and Jared Isaacman on a spacewalk. So, beautiful, beautiful new merch here. You can as always, you can get this collection and a plethora of other awesome spaceflight merch from shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Here you can see our metal print collection, which is steadily growing and is honestly amazing. If you're ever looking to put some really, really cool artwork or shots of rockets launching on your wall, we've got you covered. We have a great collection from all of our extremely talented photographers here at NSF. So hopefully maybe we'll be able to add some more shots to that tonight from tonight's mission. So there you can see a gorgeous, I believe this is actually from Sawyer, shot of drone ship coming in with a booster. So
Yes, it was. That was after Fram 2. We took a boat 20 miles out offshore to be able to go see that. So the things that we will do for you, the viewers, we love it.
Oh, awesome. As always, you can get all of that and more at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. All right, at T-minus 7 minutes and 30 seconds to launch. Engine chill should be getting started on the 9 first stage engines here in about 30 seconds. So, yeah, can't wait to see this thing get off the ground. We have a question here asking, is that the crew access tower that we see there standing beside the rocket?
Yes. So, new to LC, well, relatively new to Launch Complex 40 is the introduction of a crew tower. It's trippy for me watching, because I've seen so many launches from LC40, that now we have a crew tower out there that can actually take crew launches. So we aren't just we aren't just restricted to 39A anymore for crew launches, since they've built this crew tower, and they can actually do Dragon launches out there, which is super awesome. You need the dual redundancy in case one pad goes down, you have another that can launch crew.
Yeah, we saw it used for the September for Crew 9. It was always. I must admit, it was a bit weird actually seeing crew fly from Slick 40, but nonetheless, the more crew that flies and the more pads there are, the better. So,
not gonna lie, when we first got views up here, I panicked because I was like, wait, I thought this launch was from pad 40, and it took me a second to be like, oh yeah, this is pad 40 now. It just hasn't clicked in my head yet. Just so used to not having a crew tower out there.
Definitely. All right. Beautiful night out there. I think we've actually got a shot from Julia, who isn't here with us on comms, but is out in the field. Gorgeous shot there. I believe she's in North Titusville. So stay tuned for some beautiful shots from her tonight of Falcon 9 launching into the Florida skies. Okay, getting ever closer, T-minus 5 minutes to launch now. The next major milestone we should be seeing is the completion of fueling on the first and second stages. That, we can sometimes know whenever that's happening because of these different vents. So They're purging some of their fuel line.
Oh, I think we lost you again there.
Yeah, it sounds like
Well-
it's you and me right now, Cody.
Yeah,
Alright,
so
I'm getting my cameras all set up here as we are getting that much closer to launch. Couple minutes.
yeah, a couple minutes here. So pretty soon we're gonna see. Actually, right now I believe we're seeing it. Strong back retract, or was I just seeing that? I can't tell.
No, we're 4.5 minutes. That's about when we see the strong back retract, that metallic structure. The clamps unclamp from underneath the fairing halves, and then it leans back 1.8 degrees, but will be thrown back further once we hit liftoff.
Exactly. And that's just to protect all the hardware on there, right? So as you launch, you don't want all your sensitive equipment that attaches to the second stage that helps fuel the second stage getting burnt in the exhaust there. So you have your tower quickly get thrown out of the way back to 30 degrees or so, just to make sure that it's out of the way of the flames.
Exactly. So we should be wrapping up propellant load on those two stages there shortly, with the liquid oxygen wrapping up. And of course, once fueling is complete, you'll also see the gas closeout, which is very similar to the T-minus 20 minute, 20 second vent, just at 2.5 minutes ish.
Yep. And one interesting thing I'd like to point out here is on those up close views, we could actually see a gray band on the second stage RP1 tank. And that indicates that this is one of the mission extension kits on the second stage, and it's likely that SpaceX needs this to complete that reentry test, the Phoenix reentry vehicle test there. So it contains some longer batteries and a little bit more helium, just to increase the time span that the second stage can operate there. So pretty cool little thing there.
And I need to get ready for launch here, so I will leave you and hopefully Hagen to it. I will rejoin you all after landing. Remember, stick around. There is a return to launch site landing on this one. So good luck, Falcon 9 and Bandwagon-3.
Yep. All right.
All right. Hopefully I'm back.
Yes.
Great. Sorry about that. Like I said, I love that my internet decides to go crazy during a stream. So cool. Yeah, coming up just past T-minus 2 minutes and 30 seconds to launch. Beautiful shot there of Slick 40 and those lightning towers. A bit ominous. Looks like there's nothing else out there because of the explosion of the camera.
The lighting is incredible, I'd say. Once this starts to go off and you actually get all the flames and stuff, the orange going everywhere is going to look really pretty.
Definitely. It really does. If you've never been out to a launch at the Cape, specifically a night launch, it really does turn into day. It's unbelievable. It's really, really cool. All right. So next major milestone here is going to be at T-minus 1 minute, and that is whenever Falcon 9 will enter startup. It's basically the flight computer is going to start performing final checks and making sure both ground systems and rocket systems are good and go for launch. And also at T-minus 1 minute, the propellant tanks and the first and second stages will be pressurized up to their flight pressures. So, again, getting ever closer to launch. And I saw your mission. This is going to be a return to launch site landing. So after launch, don't leave. Don't go anywhere. So we're going to be seeing a booster returning back to the Cape, which is going to, as always, is just super cool. So T-minus 1 minute to go. At 45 seconds, we should get the final go for launch. Falcon 9 is in startup.
Now, with that confirmation, next up, the launch director will give their final poll for launch.
All right.
So let's listen in.
Looks like we are go for launch.
Launch director, go for launch.
There we go. Go for launch. All right. So 20 seconds to launch now. Falcon 9 is fully ready to go. Beautiful shot here, Falcon 9 on Slick 40. About to see it head up into those beautiful Florida skies. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ignition. There's ignition and liftoff. Go Falcon 9 and go Bandwagon-3. T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds into flight. Beautiful shot there of Falcon 9 ascending into the Florida skies. All looks good. Looks like we are through maximum aerodynamic pressure, or whenever aerodynamic loads are at their greatest on the vehicle. And it looks like Falcon 9 is also supersonic. So, beautiful shot there of Falcon 9 ascending. You can see the plume from the bottom from those 9 Merlin engines on the first stage starting to expand as the atmospheric pressure continues to decrease. There's less pressure to keep them in their narrow form that we see at liftoff. Next major milestone we're going to be seeing is going to be main engine cutoff. We're going to see that in about 15 seconds or so. That's going to be followed soon after by separation of the first and second stages. And then the ignition of that second stage Merlin vacuum engine. And then right after that, we should also see stage 1 flip around to do its boost back burn. There is MECO. Those 9 Merlin engines have shut down. Wait to see if we can see second stage ignition. And there it is. Second stage ignition. And wow, there that's so cool. That is the interaction between the plumes of the first and second stages. That first stage, of course, is turned back around the opposite way that it was traveling and is boosting back to the Cape to perform a return to launch site landing. That second stage is continuing to push those. Wow. Oh, that's so cool. That second stage continuing to push those bandwagon payloads up into that mid-inclination orbit. Cody, that was a beautiful launch, wasn't it?
Oh, that was incredible. I mean, seeing the plume interactions there during SECO, oh my gosh. Or sorry, not SECO, MECO. And then we had a really good shot there where, as we were describing, night turns to day. Whenever we see those launches happen, you could just see everything in front of the cameras all lit up there. And again, incredible views, tracking views here of that first stage and second stage.
Great track by our team too of that second stage ignition. It's not easy to track it like that in the night, so very, very good to all of our field team members out there. All right. So as you can see, that first stage has completed its boost back burn. It is now heading back to the Cape. It's now going to start rotating into the proper position for its entry burn and landing burn. And as you can see, those massive titanium grid fins have been extended. Cody, what's the purpose of those grid fins? Why do we need those grid fins on the first stage?
Yeah, so Falcon 9, being unique as a vehicle that's able to land its first stage, needs to have pinpoint accuracy. I mean, out in the ocean, whenever it's doing drone ship landings, it needs to land on something the size of a football field. And this is a 22-story tall building, right? So we need methods to control the vehicle as it re-enters through the atmosphere there. So these grid fins are able to create a lot of pressure, and by moving that pressure around, we're able to, steer the vehicle. And that allows Falcon 9 to actually have a little bit of cross-range capability and move around. And man, this is an incredible shot here.
I honestly feel like maybe we're getting a little bit of a jellyfish effect Like
Yeah.
barely any. Sawyer, do we have you back on comms? Maybe? You might still be taking some beautiful shots of that. We'll come back to Sawyer in a little bit, but yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, Cody.
Oh, you're good. No. I needed to say something about this too. That's an incredible shot right there, man.
I cannot wait to see what shots we get from our team out there. Well, you can even see the plume off of, I believe, some cold gas thrusters. Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, now coming up on T plus 6 minutes into flight here. We should see that first stage entry burn start up at T plus 6 minutes and 15 seconds, or around there. Of course, the entry burn is used to slow Falcon 9 down during its descent to the Cape. Should be a relatively short burn. And then a little less than a minute after that, we should see that first stage landing burn start up. And wow, look at that. You can see the lights from Titusville and Cocoa Beach and stuff. All right, those grid fins steering Falcon 9 through the atmosphere. Cool, you can see those thrusters there keeping it stable as well. And there we go, there's entry burn. Is that entry burn slowing Falcon 9 down?
It's just a fireball.
Yeah. If you're ever at the Cape and seeing one of these, it like, oh wow, look at that. And then it's gone. If you're ever at the Cape and are seeing a return to launch site landing, you can really see it looks like the entry burn is directly above you. So if you're out there, I hope that was a treat. All right, we should see that landing burn start up here in a minute. Falcon 9 hitting denser and denser air as it's coming back through the atmosphere.
You can actually see the glow of plasma through those grid fins just barely on the camera there.
That's so cool. Really really allows you to see how fast this thing is coming in.
There we go.
All right. Of course, Falcon 9 is going to be landing at landing zone 2. There we go. There's that landing burn. See landing leg deploy here in a moment. Beautiful shot there by our team. Coming down. Oop, lost it behind the building. I think we just heard a sonic boom. There's landing leg deploy.
You can see it down. Touchdown.
And touchdown. Beautiful. Falcon 9 is back on landing zone 2 at the Cape. Beautiful. Wow. Always a treat getting to see these things come back and land back at the Cape. Cody, I don't know about you, but me personally, I think I prefer these return to launch site landings over drone ship landings because we can always see a little bit more.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, those drone ships, they're good, they're efficient, and when you need them, you need them. But man, it's always a treat when they're able to give us a RTLS and we're able to see that full thing come back. I mean, whether it's a night or day mission, it's always so beautiful.
Definitely. There you can see that's a shot that we always love to see after a launch, an empty launch pad, that transporter erector thrown back in the launch position. Falcon 9 on its way. T plus 9 minutes into flight now. That second stage is continuing on. Looks like we're not going to be getting any second stage views here. That's fine because we have a beautiful shot of Slick 40. So, yeah, in case you're just now joining us, Falcon 9 successfully lifted off at 8:48 p.m. Eastern with the Bandwagon-3 rideshare mission. After ascending through the atmosphere, the first and second stages separated. That second stage is still currently in flight and continuing to send those three bandwagon payloads onto mid-inclination orbit. But that first stage turned around, did a boost back burn, deployed its grid fins, came back in, did an entry burn, and then landed successfully at landing zone 2 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. So, beautiful launch. Can't wait to see all that our team gets. You can see there a beautiful shot from Jerry and his drone Sawyer, do we have you back on comms?
Oh my gosh, that was spectacular. The second stage, you could continue to see it the entirety of the mission, and it had this eerie glow behind it. It was this ethereal type view because you had a little haze in the air with everything hitting was absolutely stunning. And then, of course, a spectacular entry and landing. And the sonic booms tonight riding across the water here with that sort of haze just hit hard. Oh, that never gets old.
Yeah, Sawyer, I think you had a little bit of a hot mic moment, but I think that was fine because we actually got to hear a bit of the sonic boom through your mic.
Yeah, I actually dropped my headset in excitement there, so that could be why. But yeah,
yeah, it's always the sonic boom. The sonic booms are always crazy. You know, it's such a you're always like, oh yeah, sonic boom, but then whenever they hit you, you really feel it. So yeah, as always. Beautiful launch from SpaceX. Excellent work to the SpaceX team. And yeah. So I don't think we're going to be getting any second stage views here. So we're going to clear out some of our support here. We ended the stream. So we have a new member here from Rob Patterson. Thank you for becoming a launch director. Very cool. Oh, actually, I think we have some replays. Do we have some replays out here of launch? I think we should have those coming up. I mean, the back channel, they're not ready yet, but stick around. We're gonna. He's exclaiming in all caps, "They are coming!" So we're gonna stick around for a little bit longer. We're gonna see some awesome replays of that launch there and landing. Rob Peterson here, becoming a launch director. Thank you for your support. Hope you. Fletcher here with a $10 super chat, asking when is the next Falcon Heavy launch? Do we actually know when that is yet, Cody or Sawyer?
should be determined sometime this year.
Yep.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll find out about that soon. And then $5 super chat here. Closely after entry burn, it's a beautiful sight. Yeah. Seeing that plasma form up on the grid fins as it's plummeting through the atmosphere is always really cool. And Cody, actually, why does that happen for anybody that might not know?
So as a vehicle re-enters, this is so cool. I love nerding out about this stuff. But as it re-enters, the vehicle is compressing the air so much that it's becoming a plasma, and that's why you're able to see through the grid fins on a lot of entries. Is you're able to see that plasma just echo through the grid fins right there and plasma build up everywhere on the vehicle. It's so cool to see that on those Falcon missions, and whenever we see Starship fights, all the plasma build up on the actual vehicle itself. It's such a cool phenomenon there. So yeah, I really love plasma there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, keeping with the Griffin question, we have a question here asking, why do the Griffins, have the grids in the first place? What's the purpose of that pattern that we see on the grid fins?
Mm-hmm. So that grabs a lot of air, right? We want to have a lot of surface area to let the air go through, but we want to grab a lot of that air because we want to change our center of pressure. We want to change where our pressure is acting. And so having those grids in that shape is able to generate a lot of pressure. And as we steer those grid fins, we can change where that pressure is acting. And when we change where that pressure is acting, we can steer the vehicle. So we're able to, steer Falcon 9 in for a landing. And one really cool thing is, especially on these RTLS landings, they're able to steer the vehicle so much that part of the body is able to generate lift almost by deflecting the air as it comes in at an angle. It's almost able to glide a little bit. It's pretty cool to see on these RTLS missions. But yeah, those grid fins are really, really powerful.
Yeah, I feel like especially hopefully we'll see it from some of our tracking shots and stuff, but if you're ever at the Cape and seeing a mission launch, during these RTLS landings, you sort of have to you come to this realization like, whoa, that booster really came all the way back here, because you see it goes so far down range, and then all of a sudden it's right on top of you again. It's absolutely insane.
I mean, that the entry burn, when it's for an RTLS like this, is directly overhead. Like, you have to crane your neck up and you realize, wow, that thing went pretty high. And even for the boost back, I mean, it's almost like a 45-degree angle from where it takes off from when you finally see them separate. So, yeah, that was... It never gets old with that. And hopefully I'll get to show you some of the cool stuff, too, with that cool effect on the second stage.
Yeah, so would you call it was it like a jellyfish? Like, I'm interested as to why that might have happened.
This was nothing close to a jellyfish. So the jellyfish is when you get like the plume as it expands outward and it hits it, you kind of get the it looks like the top of a jellyfish with that sort of dome shape. This was almost more like a delta shape, more kind of triangular. The way that the haze was hitting just right, it sort of created this like diamondy glow behind it. I don't know even how to describe it. I don't think I've seen that before with other launches, maybe once ever, but not like that.
Yeah. Wow. I can't wait to see we can't wait to see some really cool shots.
Yeah, I checked. I do have a shot of that. I just would need to get it sent over to you.
Very cool. Keep an eye out for that one from Sawyer. All right, gonna hit some questions here as we wait for some replays. We have a question here. Oh, a good one. Asking, why do they bother folding the grid fins for ascent if Super Heavy has already proved that it doesn't really matter?
Well, it kind of does. Super Heavy, they determined everything in engineering is a trade-off, right? And so on Super Heavy, it's such a large vehicle that they're able to just kind of power through it. And the mechanism needed to fold a large, absolutely massive grid fin like they have on Super Heavy is not really worth it. But on Falcon 9, a vehicle with a smaller scale and a smaller scale grid fin, they're much more easily able to include that folding mechanism. And so SpaceX has determined that, balancing out the scales, you're getting more efficiency even though you're including the weight of that folding mechanism. Because on the way up, you aren't experiencing as much drag on the actual grid fins themselves.
There you go. Awesome. All right. Another question we got here from Ken Workman asking, and I know we covered this actually at the beginning of the stream, but when we get back to it, now that we've seen a landing, is the other booster still at the LZ? Sawyer, can we confirm that there is another booster, that there are now two boosters at the landing zones?
Obviously, I didn't get to watch the broadcast portion of the landing because I was kind of using these things called Mark 1 eyeballs, apparently. But yeah, that's two boosters, and this was not a Falcon Heavy. So these are two Falcon 9 cores as opposed to Falcon Heavy side cores. So, beautiful.
Yeah, in the back channel, Alex was saying that they moved the booster to the booster stand right after landing for the CRS 32 booster there.
Yeah. So Sawyer, I have to ask, which was better, CRS 32 or Bandwagon-3?
Brutal honesty, I wasn't out here for CR32. I had something else going on, but so yeah, I'm gonna go Bandwagon personally, just because I didn't get to see the first one.
Oh, I'll have to ask I'll have to ask Max and D, who I believe were out for CRS32 earlier this morning. So
yeah, they were.
Cool. All right. We have a question here asking, who picks the names of the missions and how do they come up with these names?
Well, for Bandwagon, at least, Bandwagon and Transporter, these are missions set up by SpaceX, right? So SpaceX is choosing those mission names. And I believe it's up to the actual company that's flying the payload, what the mission name will be. On some other launch providers like Rocket Lab, they come up with these really cool names from the actual company themselves. Like the Rocket Lab will come up with a cool name. But I believe that it's the actual like payload provider that is generating these names oftentimes.
Yeah. In this case, Bandwagon-3, this is a rideshare mission. And so there's more than one payload actually being flown. And so in that case, this also applies with the transporter missions. These are part of a larger rideshare program, and so it's a lot easier to just say, this is Bandwagon-3, the third mission of the Bandwagon program, than listing out every single payload. So yeah,
I would not want to say that name on a live broadcast. That'd be such a long name.
Could you
Especially on
imagine
those
the transporter missions? Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, whenever you got like 50, 60 spacecraft on a single flight, yeah. Imagine having to do that for every.
Sorry, it just comes ellipses at the end. You just say dot.
Imagine having to do that on like satellite that flies on a Starlink mission.
Oh
no. Yeah. So cool. We have a question here. I think we actually also talked about this, but what is the least amount of time between two RTLS launches? I think we covered this earlier, and I think Alex got us that it was 7.5 hours, I believe, between a USSF mission and IM-1 last year. So that was about 7.5 hours. Today's difference in time was over 12 hours, so not the least amount of time between Sierra 32 and Bandwagon-3, but still pretty cool that we can see 2 return to launch site landings in less than 24 hours. So cool. All right. I know we were talking earlier, Cody, about the importance of doing that engine chill and why engine chill is so important for Falcon 9. We have a question here asking, wouldn't the heat of the engine ignition crack the engines? Why should we worry about the cryogenics and the cold side of these missions instead of the really fiery and heat-centered side of it?
Right. I'll make this quick because I just heard we got replays in, and I don't want to stop you guys from seeing those views. But in the actual engines themselves, they have little channels to cool the nozzles, right? Because we don't want our nozzles melting. And so we flow those cryogenic propellants through those nozzles to ensure that, they aren't going to melt. And so by pre-flowing propellant through there, we're going to ensure it isn't going to crack because we want to keep those components cold, right? If we just instantly started flowing the propellant right as the ignition happened, you could have a risk of, cracking there. So even though, yes, there is a big differential in heat, we want to keep it cold at first, because it's certainly the cryogenics will crack it, and we don't want it to melt either.
Definitely. All right, I think we've got us some replays ready from this gorgeous launch. All right, let's see. Oh, first off, yes, we have a shot here from Julia of launch here. Now, she did mention in the back channel that she had a bit of issues with the framing here. That's actually because this mission is going up. Alex also mentioned in the back channel that this mission is being lofted a lot more than usual. I believe he said the booster reached an apogee of 144 kilometers, whenever Starlink missions usually reach only 115 kilometers. So, one of the trade-offs of being a photographer, but if you ever need help with if you're ever taking a photo of a rocket launch or anything and you need help with framing up, be sure to use Flight Club, a very, very cool service there to help you with photographs. All right, hopefully we can see some more replays here in a minute, if this is not one. This looks like maybe it's from port. Maybe this is just Space Coast Live. Oh, nope, there we go. You can, as we mentioned, turns night into day. Yeah, I believe this is from Port Canaveral over by where one of our Space Coast Live locations are. Yep, this is from Rusty's. Beautiful. Sawyer wasn't kidding whenever he said there were clear skies out there.
Oh man, yeah, I was starting to get a little worried because it was a touch on the cloudier side, but then as we got closer to T0, you could see all the stars, and yeah, put on a show.
Definitely. Of course, if you're just now joining us, you're looking at a replay of Falcon 9 whenever it launched Bandwagon-3 about 25 minutes ago. Looking at some beautiful replays of launch now. here we go. This one, I believe, is over from the press site. Yes. Beautiful. Rising over the trees. Now, Sawyer, can you actually see Slick 40 from the press site?
If you're in the right spot, yes, you can. It's basically there's a little gap in the trees where you can see it from. Our robotic cameras that we have there don't see it super well, but we make sure that we get you the best view.
Definitely. It's like a rising sun.
There is a house in KSC they call the Rising Sun.
I believe this is a drone shot. Wow. This is going to be really neat. Of course, this is a drone view from Jerry.
That is incredible. I'll just say it. That's an incredible shot right there. Man.
You can see the way it's illuminating, I believe, maybe some lower level fog or something like that near the launch site.
Yeah, as Sawyer was saying, there's just like the right amount of haze there. The right amount of haze that just makes it so cinematic as it lifted off there.
Definitely. You can actually, maybe we'll be able to see a little bit of a pitch over here, given that this is such a wide shot. Really, really, really cool. Also, I feel like this shot kind of puts it into perspective that, we think of rockets as these really big vehicles, and they are, but Earth is also really big. So it kind of looks small from this wide shot. Very neat with Cape Canaveral in the foreground there. All right, we got another wide shot here. I think maybe this one has audio. Yes, it does. Let's listen in. There's liftoff. Maybe we'll hear that rocket rumble in a few seconds. There it is. Okay, I think, if my ears don't deceive me, I heard a little bit of a VAB squeal.
I heard it too.
More than a little, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. Of course, if you don't know what the VAB squeal is, it's whenever, I guess, vibrations from the sound waves of rockets launching vibrate the VAB, and it makes this really loud squeal like a banshee. It's just incredible. Ooh, up close shot here. I believe this is from D. Incredible. Great track. Fantastic audio. Oh, I just love the sound of rockets. It just sounds so, I know.
Feels power from them. The shaking. It's like, oh, it's so cool.
Yeah. I know me and Max have joked about making an album, like a music album of different, and just each track being a different Rockets rumble. I know I would listen to that. Yep.
You gotta make it a game where you're trying to identify the type of vehicle just based off the sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Name that rocket.
Yeah.
I can name that rocket in 5 decibels.
It's like a Wordle. It's like decibels.
Yeah. Beautiful track here from D. Wow. It's always my favorite part of Ascent is whenever we can see the plume on the first stage start to expand because of less atmospheric pressure. It sort of makes the rocket look like it's moving in slow motion a bit, which is really cool.
Oh, it is not. Even though he is the master of slow-mo.
Yeah. And then it's just gone. That's so cool. Maybe we'll get a shot at that second stage, that beautiful second stage. Yep, there was Miko. See upper stage ignition here in a second. There it is. All right, maybe we'll be able to see that jellyfish-like phenomenon. Oh, wow. I forgot about the nebula from Boostback. Incredible. It looks like water in the sky. That's so cool. Of course, that weird, I don't even know what bubbling sensation or phenomenon that you can see there is from the interaction between the first stage plume and the second stage plume. That first stage obviously is making that boostback burn back to the Cape, and in order to do that, it's got to flip in the direction opposite of the second stage. So those two plumes are interacting with each other. It's very cool. Oh, here we go. Here is some classic slow-mo from D. Oh, nope, that was not slow-mo. Wow, I lied.
Classic fast-mo from D.
Yeah, there we go. So cool. Really, these static shots, still showing, ground infrastructure and stuff. It really lets you see how bright it gets. On the, we're so used to seeing a tracking shot of the rocket of its engines as it's going up, but really from the ground you can see how much it illuminates the surrounding environment and stuff.
Was that a truck driving by right after takeoff there?
I think it did. Yeah.
It's a little over a mile away, so it's not within the restricted area there. So you will see cars and trucks just doing their job.
I'd be very interested to know what it's like to just be driving and then see a Falcon 9 lift off in your rearview mirror.
It's cool. I mean, what? No, not so.
Sawyer, were you in that truck?
Yes, that was me. That was absolutely me in that truck. Totally not hanging out with some of our viewers here at Cars Park.
Another great engine shot here. I don't think there's audio with this one. Very cool. I love being able to make out some of the, if you look very close to the top of the exhaust, the bottom of the rocket, trying to make out where each of the 9 engines are as it ascends.
Especially as it gets thinner, you can count them.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm looking at one of my shots I'm editing right now, and I'm literally counting the engines as you say that.
Absolutely beautiful.
Just a pillar of fire going into the sky right there. It's so cool.
Controlled explosion. I love how quickly the colors change. That is so cool. Yeah, and of course, plume expanding because of a lack of atmospheric pressure. So you mentioned you're going to be able to start counting out those engines as that plume continues to expand and expand. It's almost like a reveal, a bit of
Problem is,
where they
if
are.
you count anything other than 9, then
Yeah, you might have
you
slight
get
issue.
worried.
Yeah. You can make them out here.
The worst part is if you start getting to 10.
I love where you can see the point where all the plumes converge there. It's like it becomes like this clean flow to like this very like turbulent flow almost.
Yep.
Very cool point right there.
That turquoise. Orange to turquoise to purple. Wow.
And again, the blue tonight on that second stage following the Falcon Nebula and as it went onward is just one of the coolest things I've seen in a launch. And again, you do this all the time and you think, oh, you kind of know what to expect, but then you see it at each launch so differently. And then you get the nebula like this, and then you get that second stage continuing onward, and it's just, yeah, special.
I wonder if that had anything to do with this being a very lofted trajectory, right? Because it was so lofted, there might have been some different atmospheric conditions or different lighting conditions that was able to give us that just brilliant blue right there.
Yeah, brilliant is the best word for it.
Definitely. All right. See, we've got I think this is one of our robotic cams here. See the rocket pop out from this building here in a second. There we go.
It's like a Jack in the box. There's a Falcon in the box.
Yep.
Actually, Jack is in the field, not in the box.
That's true. That's true. Very cool. And actually, regarding these colors, we actually just got a question about this. Is why do we see this change in color as it gets higher and higher into the atmosphere?
So as we're getting higher and higher into the atmosphere is becoming less dense, right? And so we're having different sort of makeups, different gases and different concentrations as we go higher and higher, or lower in the atmosphere. So as you get higher and higher in the atmosphere, there's less pressure. There might be less of one certain gas that's able to change the color as the combustion happens there.
Wow, look at that. That's so cool.
Yeah, that part doesn't get old. The nebula, which for those who don't know, that is exclusive to the RTLS missions, or at least missions that involve a boost back burn, I should say. As it does the boost back, the two plumes interact with each other, and that's when you get as we call it, a Falcon Nebula, because it looks like someone took a shot of a nebula in space, even though it's just Falcon 9's engines.
Yeah. I mean, technically a nebula in space is just a collection of, gas and dust and stuff like that. So, I think we call it a nebula pretty safely, just minus the dust.
I mean, technically we are in space too with the whole Earth thing, so you could debate that as well, that it is a nebula in space.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
And also the altitude it happens at, semantics.
Yeah.
Tomato, stubby nozzle.
Yep. All right. I think we still got maybe one or two more replays here. Kevin has told me in the back channel that he's looking for something in this drone shot. So, let's see. I feel like we're going to be looking for a landing here. Assuming the drone didn't move too much between then and land. Oh, there it was.
Spoilers!
I know. Right. You can see there. Here it comes. There it is. Wow. Kevin, are we sure this isn't playing in reverse?
Oh, not you too.
Wow.
Amazing.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really cool. Jerry, thank you so much for this shot. That's awesome. Wow. And just to be clear, no, that was not reverse. That was definitely a landing. So. So, you know, that has been to space. Where did we?
I was gonna say, I don't know if Kevin saw the second stage shot that I was talking about earlier, but yeah.
Wow, that's cool.
There it is. So that's what I was talking about with the ethereal glow, just so you know, folks.
That is a fun. Wow.
Thank you. Yes, that's stage 2, by the way, as it was going upward. Meanwhile, stage 1 was working its way back into what you saw Jerry's amazing drone shot from there. That was what stage 2 was still doing at the same time.
Shot there. Beautiful launch, beautiful evening, and of course, a gorgeous shot of me there. One more support here. 5. Is there a way to send a picture? Night launch. To you guys. Yes. Tag us on X.
We're losing you there a bit, Hagen, but yes, you can tag us on all of our socials: Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, Blue Sky, TikTok. We are on all of them. I think that's what Hagen was trying to say. Hagen was also trying to say that Sawyer is the best commentator at What? No.
Am I back?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what you were saying, right?
I mean, I did say that,
Oh.
but you picked it up perfectly right. That is to get us on all the socials. So, yeah, but yeah, Sawyer and Cody, thank you for joining me. Of course, in
Yep, it was our absolute pleasure to be here, Cody. Always great to have you on too.
Thank you. It's always amazing to join y'all for these flights. So thank you all for having me, and thanks everyone for watching.
I have a great idea. How about we do this again for the next one? That's what we'll do. We'll see everybody for the next launch. Don't forget, you can follow everything going on at the Space Coast, Space Coast Live 24/7, and all of our other live camera feeds, McGregor, Starbase. You know the drill. We will see you all later.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
RS-68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. With planet. Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?